Hey there, everybody. Pete here from Comic Book Geezers alongside Mr. Kirk in the co-pilot
Hey,
here. What's going on? It's Western Comics Day. We've had a lot of folks asking us, Pete, Kirk, Wild Bill, show us your Western comics. And Bill and I really don't have much of anything. I think I showed one or two issues a couple months back, and we showed the Red Wolf comics. That's about all I have. But lo and behold, Kirk's got a bunch of them, so he's going to show them off today, and I'm looking forward to seeing these because I used to have a bunch when I was a kid, and I, over the years, just got rid of them, sold them, traded them. Kind of wish I held on to some of them, but so I'm curious to see what you have and if I had any of these back in the day.
I will say this: there are some great Western books. I mean, because Western books started with the golden age of comics,
Yeah.
and I think by the '70s, early '80s, they'd really faded out totally.
Oh yeah.
There was a little bit of a rebirth in the '90s with like Lady Rawhide and Zorro and all that, but mostly, I hate to say it, it's a kind of a dead area. I like the old Western books too, especially a big fan of some of the stuff in the '70s. But we'll start with a classic one because you can't do a Western show without discussing the Lone Ranger. So
Of course.
I got this. This is my only. I actually have a Golden Age book. I couldn't find it for the show, but you know what? Classic. I used to watch the show when I was a kid, so. And I got to say, did you ever read any of the Tim Truman Lone Ranger series that he did in the '90s or something?
No.
Really good because they mix his horror with it. So,
Oh wow, that's interesting.
and it's more updated, and it's more like Tonto is more like he's had his fill of Lone Ranger. So it's some really good stuff. But this is more of a classic. It's a Whitman, which is like it's a reprint book. This was done in 1976. To be honest with you, I have no clue where this came from. I know it came from my collection, but I got no idea
where it came from before then is who knows. Anyways, guess.
And the worst thing is, like, I hate to say it, you end up with these books and you're like, I picked them up somewhere. So
I don't remember buying this, but somehow it made it into my box. So
yeah. There were tons of different stuff. I throw in a Gold Key one with Judge Cole. They, again, there was a period, especially like 60s, 70s, 50s even, they were making different Western books, just trying to find something that sticks. I love the Gold Key book, so I saw this and I was like, I'm gonna throw this one up. I think this lasted like one issue. It's not a big
book. Great artwork. I mean, those Gold Key covers are just like they're just like paintings. They're so good.
Yeah. And that's what I love about them. But as I said, they're always like, they're hard to find too in good condition because those books just never seem to last. During the '70s, like DC was trying to revamp their Western stuff, and I found this actually at the show. I went with Bill like a couple of weeks back, so I saved it for this part of the show because I think it's a great one. I love this cover. I paid $1 for it.
Wow.
And I love nickel beers in the back. Right now, and I hate to say this, could you see doing this a kid comic book with a mention of beers? I mean, it was the '70s, man. Anything went. So, and
he's got the cigar and the beers
it's classic. And I love these super DC giants. I like any of those giant size books from the '70s. I'm such a big
classic.
Now we're going to go into one of the classic characters of the DC universe is Tomahawk. Now this character is kind of like a colonial figure. He fought in the Revolutionary War, kind of a Daniel Boone kind of guy. The book was like, especially as things started going on, it just started fading in popularity. So they added Mrs. Liberty for like the last part of it, and she's right there. She's kind of like a female patriotic hero. And because these books, they were trying space creatures, anything to try to combine like Daniel Boone meets, Roger Corman. So, and it didn't work out. So, but these are fun to read, as I said, it's like a giant monster, ghost. But then what they figured was they wanted to try to update it one more time before they ended up canceling it. And they updated the book a little bit. They jumped like 30 years into the future, and Tomahawk has a son. And so it became Son of Tomahawk, which was much more up to date, more in the aspect that they dealt with more political issues, and it was the 70s, so we're looking at racial issues and such. These books are really solid. I'm noticing that they're getting a little harder to find, and so you'll pay a little bit more for them. I think they're really good. You had, again, you've got, who is it? This one is, I think it might be a Frank Thorne cover, or I'm not too sure. It might also be, it's Joe Kubert.
Oh, okay.
So again, he did a bunch of those. These are really good. They were like, I think they're, again, some people are, not big on the Westerns, but I think those are pretty solid. Now, if we're talking DC though, who do we got to talk about? My number one Confederate soldier guy. I love Jonah Hex. So we're going to throw a couple of those in. Now, again, poor guy, man, his face has always just been like that whole like gash open there. You're like, didn't that heal right? Didn't anybody know about stitches? I don't know. But
I think him and Harvey Dent went to the same plastic surgeon, I guess.
I know. I was like, Jesus. And the worst part is, if you read the old Batman stuff, Harvey had his face fixed like 3 or 4 times. They're like, we've got this new surgery, and by the end of the next issue, his face got blown off again. I was like, Jesus, you figured these explosions would kill him by now.
I know, right?
So, but I like Jonah Hex. He started, and people don't always remember this, in Weird Western Tales. So this is one of those early issues. But after a while, they did put Jonah out into his own book. And I gotta say, I don't think it was as good as it started progressing into this book, to be honest. But that's my opinion. But I wanted to mention, and I just got this recently, Batlash. This is a showcase. This is actually his first appearance. He's a zany guy who walks around with like flowers in his lapel and everything, but he's like this amazing shot and all this stuff. And he's always trying to hustle people and womanize. And it was just kind of corny. It was Sergio Argento. I'm probably butchering the name. Guy who did a lot of the plot books and Mad Magazine helped create this character. So it's kind of like there's a humorous edge to it. And it's a fun book. Again, I got this at Zap Comic Books a little while ago for $6. So I was kind of like, can't go wrong with that. We're going to jump back because these, I will tell people all the time, if you like Westerns, you should look at the old original All-Star Western. Now this is where this became Weird Western Tales. This is what was the original series, and then it morphed into that. But it starts originally with El Diablo, which is basically like a Zorro ripoff. So, but great art, Neil Adam covers, a little bit more of a horror twist to it, a little darker. And I've got like a couple of those, you got the guy laughing. I said, it was the early 70s, when Batman was getting a lot darker and all that. And these kind of fit in with that. So these are really good. And you can get these still pretty rich, because I bought this one not that long ago for like $3. So not bad. Here's number 12. I got this one at Zap. So again, pretty solid. The covers are great. This is
that's a great cover. Holy cow.
It's Joe Kubert cover. Again, the art in these are really solid. The inside is just as good. So again, I strongly recommend it. It's got Jonah Hex, El Diablo, Batlash, and a Powwow Smith, which is very dated. But again, those stories, I'm going to say some of them, a little bit of reprint stuff from the 50s, but new stuff too. Really solid. I'm going to jump over to Marvel now, because Marvel is also kind of like, because they're trying to figure out whether Western books would last. I'm a big fan of this series, the Ghost Rider series. These are a pain in the ass to find, though, because there's been some talk that this got mixed in a little bit with the regular, Ghost Rider we all know and love.
Yep.
So, because the second movie, which I watched once, and I hate to say it like this, I'm not a big fan of Nicolas Cage playing the Ghost Rider. I think Nicolas Cage is great in a lot of things. Willy's Wonderland, I don't know if you saw, did you see Willy's Wonderland? You should see that. I watched that and I recommend that. he actually does not say a word through the whole film.
Well, that's probably good. That's probably for the best.
So, but it's the best movie I think Nicolas Cage has done in years. But anyways,
so I like the Ghost Rider films. I just wish they would take out all his scenes when he's not the Ghost Rider, because I think once he's the Ghost Rider, it's like, yes, this is great. As soon as he turns back to Johnny Blaze, I'm like, that's that Cage guy again.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you. We should have gotten someone else to play the talking role.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful that they're going to reboot that and actually do something with it. But this was the old Western. They changed this because if you check in the 70s, they reprinted a lot of these under a short-lived series called Knight Rider. So, because again, you couldn't have two Ghost Riders.
No, yeah.
So, but these are great. I just got this recently. What happened was that went for about 7 or 8 issues. They closed it out, and then they brought the Ghost Rider over into the Marvel these are the Western gunfighter. And then this lasted for 7 issues with a whole bunch of different people in it, because this has the Apache Kid, Black Mask, Wyatt Earp. And then here's another one, and I gotta say, I was always a sucker for this character. He doesn't have a lot of appearances though. They later on had him appear in West Coast Avengers, where it was his descendant and he sexually assaults Mockingbird, and which I kind of found hard to believe to a certain degree, because I think she should have been able to kick his ass. But that's just my opinion. But and there's in issue 8 they got rid of the Ghost Rider. I don't know why, and then they started trying to fill in different characters and keep things going. This lasted to about 30 issues. DC still was trying to figure out places to put it. I love this cover, and this is a cool one because it was the 70s again, and they're trying to figure out how to make Westerns work. So they combine it with a little science fiction. And again, that's what is that? I don't know. That might be, again, a Kubrick cover. I'm not too sure. It's not signed, but very cool. And again, this book you wouldn't see produced today. The Man Behind the Gun. Again, playing into the Western and science fiction and all that, and even some, what is it? You got Navy guy there, and just people with large guns. I love that stuff. But I know we talked about it before, but I'm a big fan of Red Wolf as well, and I know you got into all that. This is the first appearance of Red Wolf. This is the Marvel Spotlight #1. You got this one? You must have this one, right?
Okay, I got all.
I was kind of surprised when I dug this out. I was like, man, this is kind of beat on. I got to get a better copy.
It's good. I wish they would have left him back in they tried to modernize that for the last couple of issues, and that was a mistake.
I agree with you. I read they used him again in a recent Werewolf by Night reboot, and the Werewolf by Night reboot sucked, and the use of Red Wolf, in my opinion, if you liked it, God bless, but they updated Red Wolf again to 2021, and he was like this government agent thing, and I was just like, I guess what, Peter would have a problem with a dead wolf skull on your head and stuff.
Yeah, that and the whole Indian thing. I mean, it's it's tough nowadays with characters like that. But I just think the character itself was very simple, and that's what was so charming about it, right? And they just didn't know what to do with it. I mean, they showed up in like a 2-issue spread of the Avengers, which was cool but kind of weird. And then I thought the first, I think it was 5 issues, they kept it a period piece, and then all of a sudden they brought him into the future, and I was like, all right, this doesn't really work anymore. But I don't know. Cool character though. I always liked him.
Yeah, I got to say, I agree with you. I think what happens is sometimes certain things just become too dated in some aspects, which and it's hard with all the you don't want to offend anybody, but at the same time, if you're going to keep it to the original, what was acceptable in say 1975 is not acceptable in 2021. So
that's the thing.
Yep. Back to Marvel, I picked up these. I love, as I've mentioned before, I love giant size books.
I had that one back in the day. That's a good one. Yeah.
And again, you see the Ghost Rider again, but now he's called Knight Rider because at this point Johnny Blaze is on the scene and he's taken out. But again, great stuff. A Gil Kane cover, so you got to love that. And again, this is an original story, so I gotta say, sometimes with these giant size books you get like a bunch of reprints and you're like, damn it, I have the original, especially if you're collectors like us, but that's pretty cool. And then I went back and I got a couple of these,
Oh, Kirby cover, look at that.
Isn't that sweet?
That's a nice one. Wow, I never saw that one before.
Oh. Now that one.
Yeah, nice.
Now here, look at this. Because I'm so organized, somehow.
Two of them. All right.
I'm going to set this one. You want this one? I'll throw it aside for you.
I'll take it. Yep, absolutely.
All right, there it is. It's off to the side. Again, got too many damn comic books. Oh, what a problem to have, right? But, again, these were great because you're talking like these were giant size books. They were a quarter a piece. I think the going rate was like 20 cents at the point, or 15 cents. So you got like a double book. And they were great because they give you like the Rawhide Kid Cult. And again, this kept going until like all the way up to issue 40. I've got the 40th here. And that's another Gil Kane. God bless. I'm a big Gil Kane fan. May he rest in peace. He was great. I loved his Green Lantern.
Worked on every damn book out there.
He's another guy who, like him and Neil Adams, never slept. I mean, I don't know.
Bill was great. There was some books that he worked on. I didn't like the way he drew certain characters, but there were others that he was like so good at. And he's, to me, Gil Kane is best when he's doing the more human type characters. Like I can't tell you how many times I've seen him do like Hulk covers, and I'm like, oh, Gil should not be drawing the Hulk, but yet he does like monsters and dinosaurs really well. So go figure. I don't know.
Yeah. But that's a taste of. That's not even all of my Marvel or my Western books in general. But I just hodgepodge of stuff. As I said, the stuff is fun. It's the great thing too is you can get in and you read these books. These usually were one and done books, so it was like, you know what? There's a certain pleasure to that. It's not like I've got to read like 40 of these to finish up a story arc or whatever. Most of the time the hero is wanted by the local sheriff or whatever. Jonah Hex has a price on his head. There's a reason they're wearing the mask, and everybody's like, "Who's that masked man?" But they were awesome. You ride into town, you right the wrong, and you get out by the end of the day. So definitely not bad. But
yeah, it's just it kind of brings you back to like a simpler time, simpler storylines, right? And that's what I think was the appeal of the Western comics and even the military comics right around the same time, because it's just simple storylines. In the Westerns, guys fighting each other with the little guns, and the Outlaws and the war comics were just like guys fighting each other out in the battlefield. So it's like, no intricate plot lines needed, just that, right? So yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for sharing those with us. For those of you watching, if you'd like to see a future Western show in the future, we'll have Kirk go into his collection once again to dig out some more. But let us know some of your favorite Western comics in the comments below. And make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, and click on that notification bell. If you do click on that bell, you get notified every time we post a new video, which is every Wednesday and Friday. For Kirk Manning, I am Pete Pardo. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you real soon here on Comic Book Geezers. Have a good one.